Hey Theresa. Okay, so before I get into the video, I'm gonna start by showing off my clown. Yep, he is finished. I am very proud of him. I am super excited because I didn't follow a pattern or a tutorial or anything. He's all original, and I am so stoked. I'm so stoked. This is actually the first one that I fully finished. My other two clowns that I started, I either didn't finish sewing or I just left loose ends and stuff hanging out. So he, I guess technically is number one, but he's not really number one. But anyways, I'm so proud of him. Yeah, very excited. Okay, so I took some notes for my video today because I know how my memory gets, and sometimes it's hard to keep track. So I'm talking about how my disabilities have affected my credibility. This is a really nuanced topic and I could honestly go on forever. So I organized my thoughts so that I don't go on forever. And I might make a follow-up video talking about some of this in more specifically, or talk about certain aspects like in work, in family, in relationships, in, you know, like what we like to call the reputation, stuff like that. So here we go. As an autistic person, I have more support needs, and I had more support needs growing up. And that meant that I needed more attention. I also needed more emotional labor, which honestly, that is a form of attention. Attention is kind of a grab all name for a lot of things that a child might need, like emotional labor, emotional support. Sometimes just a second, my cat's trying to get in. Okay, cat has entered the building. I mean the room really, but oh boy, it's gonna be another one of these. So again, so attention is a grab all for a lot of things that a child might need, and for me that included emotional labor, and it also included memory care or memory support, and organization, because I did not understand how to form a system of organization and how to organize my stuff, like even like my school things, my clothes, stuff like that. And okay, Kiwi. Hey. So I needed more help with those things, and oh my gosh. And because of my bigger support needs, especially with memory, memory is a tough one because I just have so many, ironically, memories of people in my family asking me for something that they were expecting of me, and saying, well, you know, I told you about this yesterday, or I told you about this just this week or something. I told you, you should remember. And I would say, I just don't remember. I genuinely do not remember what you're talking about. And it was so frustrating for them. And for me, I just felt like powerless because I truly could not remember. And I think that they thought that I was using that as an excuse. As an excuse to get out of the responsibility of not doing something that they had expected me to do or asked me to do. And that was a big struggle because then they didn't trust me, and they thought that I was lying and making up excuses when I had needs that weren't getting met. That's going to be a theme. Because of my bigger support needs, I was also infantilized and overprotected by my family. So a lot of times it was easier to make the decision for me than help me to make the decision on my own, because it takes more time, takes more hand holding and emotional labor. Sometimes people who were invested in my decisions, like my family, who, you know, care about me, want the want the best for me, want to protect me from myself, and from possible bad decisions or, bad outcomes. They found it easier to control the outcome by influencing my decision or controlling my decision rather than empowering me to make the decision by helping me with the slow labor of it. And it did require a lot of patience. To be fair, now there were people in my family who did this, who would take the time and the patience to give me the extra support that I needed, especially emotional support. But even these people in my family would eventually start to find my behaviors to be manipulative rather than a need. Like, for example, they might think that I was dramatic or over exaggerating in order to get more attention that I felt that I needed. When as an autistic person, I was experiencing emotional flooding and breakdowns, meltdowns due to like sensory and emotional overwhelm, and like I said, emotional flooding that actually just requires more support. And so then, because they thought that I was over dramatizing and exaggerating, that was another reason to trust me less and to take what I said less seriously. So these things started to build up. Another way that my credibility was affected by my disability, and still is that when I experienced autistic burnout, and I experienced a lack of motivation to do the things that I wanted to do that are, maybe less pleasant, like toward my goals, like doing homework for school or something, and doing things that I wanted to do that I really like, that are pleasant and don't require, like unpleasantness or a feeling of sacrifice to do. And when I lost, Kiwi here, when I lost motivation, instead of thinking of my lack of motivation and the change in my mood as a possible symptom of disability, my family thought that I wasn't able or wasn't being honest about what I actually like, what I want to do, what my goals are, and what motivates me, because I was telling them that I just had no motivation to do the things that I love to do and that normally would excite me. And instead of taking those symptoms and considering that I might have a mental illness, depression, or be experiencing burnout, like anyone can experience, or burnout specifically that autistic people can experience, they took that to mean that I'm less trustworthy because I'm not telling the truth about what excites me, about what I like, about what I'm motivated, and that maybe I'm just saying what people want to hear. So that also affected my credibility. Then, oh yes, another common autistic behavior and trait is to match the social cues of the current situation. For a lot of people who are autistic, it can be hard to learn social cues. It takes a lot of experience and time and trial and error. But once you start to get good at it, a lot of people who are autistic can change their behaviors to fit the like vibe or mood or the kind of leaning of the people that they're currently surrounded by. So, more intensely than you would change your personality, when you're with your family versus when you're at work, but even more intensely. And instead of that being interpreted as any kind of autistic behavior, that really, it kind of then seemed like I was shape-shifting to fit in and be accepted wherever wherever I happen to be. The problem with that is that then it undermines the person's trust in your personality, because then they believed that my personality was just a facade in order to be accepted in the current situation that I'm in and by the people that I'm around, rather than a firm set of like values and opinions and beliefs, etc. An identity. It seemed to that person that and some people in my family that my identity at a given time can be kind of like chameleon changed to just appear desirable in the moment, like a people pleaser who is to the extent of not having a firm personality. And I'll add to that, because I mentioned the people pleaser-ness, that's a really common symptom for autistic people, especially AFAB autistic people, to experience, is the people pleaser need, to the extent that you may struggle within yourself to know when you're making a decision because you want to versus making decisions that suit the people around you. And then because of that, they can actually believe that they don't know you and that they can't maybe trust who you are or the things you say you like, because you have a tendency to people please, when in reality it may mean that you need more support and more accommodations in order to have agency and in order to be trusted. So that also can affect credibility, and it did for me. Describing symptoms often. This goes hand in hand with over-exaggerating, but it's more specific about physical symptoms, because I would talk often about my emotional flooding symptoms, and that seemed like I'm just a very emotional person who needs more attention. That was what my family interpreted that as. But when I complained about more physical symptoms, they took that to also be over-exaggeration, and that I am leaning towards being a hypochondriac, instead of taking my concerns and even then my paranoia or my panic, my anxiety about my symptoms, taking that seriously, and either taking me to a doctor or researching the symptoms that I'm having to figure out a pattern of what could be going on with me. Those things didn't happen. Instead, what happened was that I was told that I am a hypochondriac, that I over-exaggerate my symptoms and my pain, and that that I needed to basically change my behaviors, such as having better posture and having a lighter backpack for my back pain, for example, rather than go to the doctor and get an x-ray for scoliosis, which they didn't know that I had, and I just found out about a year ago. So that's another way that my credibility was affected by my autism and my disabilities. Because I complained about pain often, my parents assumed that I was over-exaggerating and that I wasn't actually in pain, rather than taking me seriously. And this also went hand in hand with all of the other symptoms that they took to be an over-exaggeration, or a plea for attention. Another thing that causes a lot of people to be confused about my abilities and to doubt my credibility is having what's called a spiky profile. And what this means basically is that instead of, if you can imagine like the term well-rounded, if someone is well-rounded, you can imagine a circle, and if you were to graph that person's ability to achieve different things on the circle. The dots would be mostly equidistant, you know, well-rounded, meaning that you're pretty good, you know, you have a pretty strong foundation with a core set of things. Like, you're really good at volleyball, and you're also really good at socializing, and you're also really good, you know, not like, I hope I'm explaining this well, not like really good at everything, not like exceeding at everything, but like, you know, around the middle, around the average. So you have a pretty, you know, some stuff you're a little bit weaker, some stuff you're a little bit stronger, but comparatively, autistic people can have much more extreme graphs where some things are very close to the center and we struggle a lot. Then other things are very far from the center and we don't struggle very much at all. So for me, for example, I really like writing. That's something that comes much more easily to me. But there's other things like I'd say, I guess I'm going into like subject matter, but like chemistry, for example, that's a lot harder for me. So I need a lot of handhold or organization. I gave that example earlier. Organization is very hard for me. I had to spend a lot of time learning it to get good at it, because it does not come naturally to me. Some people, it comes very naturally to them. And for this reason, when I'm like, for example, being really good with schoolwork, this led people to kind of assume like, well, if you're really good at doing your homework, then why can't you be really good at socializing? You know, if you have this ability, then if you're smart, then you should be smart here too, for example. But smart is subjective, and you know, there are some things that just come super naturally to me. For example, I'm really pretty good with crochet. I haven't been crocheting very long, but I think that when I started learning it, it's something that my brain really enjoys and is motivated by. And so I think I picked it up kind of quickly in terms of how to make new figures, new structures, new shapes, etc., and how to, you know, for example. But let's say math or chem, it's really slow. It's not to say that I don't enjoy it, but it doesn't motivate me the same, because I don't get excited about it the same way that I would something that I just kind of naturally lean toward, like writing or crochet. And that goes for a lot of things. There's some stuff in my life that just it comes very naturally to me, and some stuff that is just, I struggle way more than the average person. And because of that, people get confused, and they think that if you can exceed in a lot of areas, then you should be able to exceed at other things. Like, if you're a fast learner, well, you must learn this fast, right? But it really depends. Certain things you might learn quickly, and other things you might need a lot of support with. If you resonate, then you might understand what I'm talking about, because people will see you succeeding in doing some stuff that is, you know, a little harder for them. You might have, you know, require very little effort of you to nail it, to have it down pat. And then other things that seem like completely elementary to them can seem like just so far beyond your capacity that it's hard to achieve them. And that's where I'm at. And it really confuses people, because they assume that I'm faking, or that I'm lazy, or that I'm not applying myself to things evenly, like things that come more naturally to me. They think like, oh, you're just doing that because then it's easier, or you enjoy it more, so you only do the easy stuff and you don't apply yourself to the stuff that's harder and is out of your comfort zone. But that's not true. It requires so much more energy, and that's another way that my credibility has really been undermined by disability, because having a spiky profile like that causes people to assume that you actually might need less support, and that you that you should be able to achieve more faster, when it's really just not that simple. It's really more nuanced than that. And when you're not getting your support needs met, things get really difficult really quickly. So let's see, that's about it. I also wrote that people think on pretending not to know. That is, again, hand in hand with the spiky profile I mentioned, where it's, if this is your center, some stuff is really close, some stuff is really far, and it ends up making this spiky image instead of a circle. And my amnesia. I also want to mention that really quickly before I finish out the video, because my amnesia has also been a reason to not believe me. This is difficult because I do have a really good memory for things that I do remember. Like some things, maybe I can only remember them very vaguely, but when I remember something in detail, I can remember it with great accuracy. So it becomes very confusing when, again, some stuff I can remember super, super well, and other stuff I have no idea that I forgot. I don't even have a semblance of an idea that I forgot something. It's just the concept of there even having been something to remember is just gone. And that's confusing, especially when people think that you have a selective memory and that you can only remember things that better suit you. Let me tell you, it does not suit me to forget. It does not make my life easier. So that's been a struggle as well. And I mentioned that that conversation of saying, well, I don't remember, and my parents saying, well, you should remember, like, I just told you XYZ at today or 5 minutes ago or this week or something. And I think that has a lot to do with my ADHD, because when my brain is focused on something else and information is happening around me, sometimes it's just like rolling off a wall, like water rolling off a duck or something. Rolling off a duck's back. Is that a phrase they say? Because truly, I think that like my body, I think I will respond in conversation too without really thinking about it, almost like a knee-jerk reaction. And so I think that caused people to believe that I was listening when my brain was elsewhere, and my mouth just got words out to I don't know, in response, but not to register what they said consciously and remember it. Or that when I did register it and then something distracted me, I didn't have like a container of where to put the important information, and so it just washed away. So that has been a really big struggle, because people don't always believe me when I say that I did not remember or that I don't remember. And a lot of people will assume that if you say that, you're making excuses. And that's tough. So as a disabled person, I've experienced a lot of undermining to my credibility, and that has also really undermined my self-trust, because it took me honestly several years maybe to establish a trust with myself that I actually can use as a foundation toward my other relationships, and to kind of just operate my everyday life with, because when you don't trust yourself, it is very confusing and painful to try to operate, and to be told your whole life that you're manipulative, you're over-exaggerating, you are a hypochondriac, and you manipulate people to get more attention, and you're just really needy. You believe all these things, you absorb them, you believe them, and then it's hard to know when your needs should be honored. And the truth is that your needs should always be honored. There is enough resources, enough people, enough love, emotional labor, and again, resources. There is enough for everybody to get what they need. And your needs are real. They should be respected and heard. And if the people in your life cannot support all of your needs, that's okay. Sometimes you need more people in your life to offer support. But if people use your disabilities to undermine your credibility, that can be very damaging for your self-trust. So it's important to analyze the way that disability changes the credibility that you see in other people. Are you using your ableism as an excuse, basically not to believe people and to judge them and assume that you know what's going on in their head better than they do, or more better than they would present it to you? Even for a child who has your full trust, it can be really difficult. And so analyzing your own ableism and how that affects your relationships and whether you believe people when they're talking to you about their experience and their true feelings, it's really important. And I hope that this was helpful so that you can take a look at the ways that maybe disability has changed the way that you trust yourself and the way people trust you, and how seriously people take you. So yeah, I had my special tie on for this, and oh, I briefly wanted to show off a gorgeous piece of art that my grandpa gave me. It's kind of a low-key thing that he put together with some knickknacks. You know, he wouldn't call it too special, but to me it's really special because they're his knickknacks, his cool stuff, and he put them together in a special piece for me to hang on my wall. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Hope you're having a great day, and yeah, that's all. Bye.